I've never really even used VC money. I've always built a minimum sellable product for anywhere from like 25 to haven't needed, a lot of people talk about MVP, like a minimum viable product. I like to call it an MSP, the minimum sellable product. That way, I get something that's valuable to the customer, and then I can put a sales system in place and start earning revenue that paves the way for future fees and allows it to put its own fuel in, almost have a sustainable sort of runway. That's always been my philosophy.
Welcome to another episode of From Startup to Wunderbrand with Nicholas Kuhner.
Awesome. So today we've got Tim Branyan, and Tim is a tech industry veteran and entrepreneur who's been leading projects since 2010. After serving in the United States Air Force, he decided to pursue his passion for software development and launched his first project with only a couple of dollars and no formal education in software. Since then, he's launched hundreds of apps, developed numerous platforms, and supported a whole bunch of other projects, scaling to millions of users and millions of dollars in revenue across various companies. So, Tim, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here and have a conversation with you. It's been fun to get to know you a little bit more before we even hit the record button. Glad to be here.
So I guess we get down to the bottom of this, because you mentioned to me that you are Irish Norwegian.
Yes.
And haven't been to Norway. Have you been to Ireland at least?
I have been to Ireland. I celebrated St. Patrick's Day there. Gosh, I can't remember what year it was. But what I noticed, I just felt bigger than everyone. I don't know if like the people were smaller there or if I had thick shoes on, but I remember walking around thinking, dude, I'm massive, like compared to some of these people. And like just the doorways even felt a little small. Is that accurate? Did I have too much to drink? I mean, there's that.
You can spot an American away. Let's just put it that way. You're a skinny American. We can spot the Americans because I'm the fattest person I know in Oslo. The rest of these Norwegians, they love running around. They're not enormous folks. But I lived in Malaysia, and one of my great joys was when the metro and bring over everyone, towering and going into lifts and on. It was a things that as a tallish person makes you quite happy. So being Americans do seem to have slightly all of the antibiotics in the beef and chicken. I think that
It's all the chemistry
that have done it.
It's all the chemicals in our food, man. Yeah, I just feel like we're just big people. Definitely a lot of fat people, but even just even our skinny people. I mean, we're just large. A lot of large features, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah. Well, South Africans are also quite dinosauric, basically, because when I went back, and it seems to be a generational thing as well, because South Africa and all of the youngsters are nearly a head taller than me. So there's definitely food in, and I'm 6 foot. I mean, they are just big. So there's something happening genetically with humans, but it's not good to be too tall. You get sore knees, sore backs.
You can reach things on the top shelf, though.
That is a definite benefit. Genetics, I mean, it's different. And if you look in Ireland and look at the UK, all the doors are quite small, and that's because they had very little food, very little sunlight, and most of them were being killed off in various wars throughout the last sort of 1,000, 2,000 years. So it's sort of, it's interesting. So, you've got a couple of interesting businesses. The one that I sort of came across first was Logic Square Technologies. Then you've got True Fans. And you also work with, in Indiana, with the Small Business Council, or something to do with helping small business development in Idaho. So you're stretching yourself quite thin.
Yeah, I'd like to. So they're all, believe it or not, they all do have some overlap in the vein of entrepreneurship support. In Indiana, we have the Indiana Small Business Development Center. The Small Business Development Center is actually a national support organization that helps small businesses start, grow, or exit at no cost. So basically, we interface with entrepreneurs every day, whether they're brand new startups or seasoned entrepreneurs, and we find out who they are, where they're at, where they want to go. And depending on where you're geographically located, we'll really sort of create this roadmap for you as an entrepreneur as far as who you get connected with, what grants are going on in your local area, what events, what PR opportunities. As you work with a lot of different business owners. Every business owner is different. Everybody's got a different obstacle. So the SBA.gov years ago thought it would be a really good idea to empower a network of advisors. And it's been an awesome story as far as, that job, that W-2 role. I've really enjoyed it. And I think being an entrepreneur has really given me an advantage, right? When I'm sitting down with other entrepreneurs at various stages of their business and I get the opportunity to help or direct them to the right resource, the right person. So it's been fun.
But splitting you between running a bit now, this is typically something that somebody who's got 20 years of experience in entrepreneurship or 30 years will say, look, I've started my businesses, I've exited my businesses. Now I've got all of this. Do this.
Right.
You are in the sort of time of your cash generations almost, or have the energy to start your own in that. Why did you start to do this at such a young age, if I can put it that way?
Yeah. So my definition of a moving target has changed over the years. I mean, when I first started in entrepreneur, my chief aim was to own my time and really just create money that I was making working overseas or working in the service, but be able to just dictate sort of my schedule. That to me was this really sort of rich or wealthy aspiration, was just to own my time and have a little bit more say on the decisions that I was making with my life. So, I hit that objective fairly quickly. It took like 4 or 5 years to really, create half the income that I was making working a full-time job. I worked my job and mined my freedom, if I could take you back sort of in that story. And then I got to the point again where the definition of success changed, and that was really like 4 years ago. I was sitting on the couch and I'd hit some high highs in my business and some of these goals to get to $1 million or get to 1 million plus users. And I arrived there and I was discontent. I was like, okay, well, now what? Do I just keep pursuing money? Do I keep pursuing titles? And do I keep creating income? What do I really like? What am I really good at? Who am I? Right? It was kind of this, I got to the side of the mountain, or it was really the peak of the mountain that I had, sort of envisioned, and just felt lost, felt empty. So I prayed that night. I still remember this. I prayed that night. It was like, hey, God, you know me, you know my heart. Guide me. I'm going on this trip. I really don't know. I don't have really any direction right now. I'm sort of like a boat without a rudder. And from there, the definition of success changed, and it's kind of been on this path now where aligning my gifts, aligning my talents, aligning, what I build to be a form of worship, right? Glorify God with what everything I have. And that to me, when I look at the return on investment for a life well lived, it's like, to me, that I'm investing in a place that's beyond just, man. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I feel like I went there fast. I feel like I maxed out Earth fairly early, and I'm thankful for that. I lived the worldly way. I created lots of income, and I arrived at a place where it's like, okay, there's still lack fulfillment, lack of sort of purpose. And now that, I'm intentionally sort of discipling my life and intentionally working on things that I believe are sort of kingdom focused. I have a lot in my sales, and I can justify why things matter. And it's really aligned me with other, great people that have that similar faith as me. And we get to, worship through work. And that's been a completely different paradigm than why I originally worked, which was for praise or accolades or time on the golf course, stuff in my garage and pockets. And yeah, man, just on a whole new mission forefront.
You can't die. We can't do that. But I love that point you bring up about worshiping through your work, because that's something my mother pushed in me quite a lot. My mom was, didn't have very fancy jobs. My dad was a Anglican priest, or is an Anglican priest, and my mum was a secretary for many years of her life. And she always mentioned to me, even though the work might not be, a bit mind numbing, it might not be the biggest titles, etc. You can show, your light through your work. So everything is, you go to work joyful, and you're working for the Lord, not your boss. So that's how she managed to, deal with tough bosses and sort of not really wonderful environments the whole time. So I totally agree with that. And that's sort of the way I run my life. I go to work every morning, and I teach my students and that with a happy heart every day, because I'm not, it's longer term vision. So really long-term vision that looking at. So that's cool to hear. So, and I take it all back a little bit to your training in the service as well, because it must be tough coming from a very structured environment where there are very clear of everything that you do, where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, etc., and going into entrepreneurship. That must have been a big change, or am I reading too much into that?
No, you're totally right. In the military, they tell you where to be, they tell you what to have, they tell you what not to have, they tell you how to prepare, and then everything is mostly sort of structured for you or around you. And you get into these rhythms, right, where they're good rhythms, they're not bad. I think what I gleaned from the military was just seeing really well written sort of standard operating procedures and sort of old historic methodologies that have been proven to adapt to work efficiently for whatever the mission is, right? So everything, to give an example, it's like when you learn something, at least in the Air Force, it starts out death by PowerPoint, right? You're learning about the subject. There's a military structure for PowerPoints. So you go through this very sequenced, sort of structured PowerPoint. It's mostly horror, but at the end of the PowerPoint, you're going to go into the next phase, which is typically your hands-on application. It's like you've learned this. Now you get hands-on on the item or the thing that you're learning. And then the third phase is quality assurance. You actually use the item that you've been taught, and you're quality assured. So you're tested on what you've learned, both with the death by PowerPoint, hands-on application, and then, you're quality assured on that item. So just one example of like a process. I am just really thankful that I went through military, but it was definitely different, transitioning from a system where everything is pretty much out and given to you, and instructions are very clear. Okay, if it's meant to be, it's up to me, right? I have to be the one that signs up for these, various medical programs, or I have to manage my dental routines, and I need, get life insurance, start to learn how to transition, right, my military skills and verbiage into their civilian application, right? People don't say, right, when they're building a software, it's like, we have a miss. It's like, no, we have a, just everything from like how you speak, how you interact with other people, all of that changes. But yeah. And I don't know, you just kind of get used to it. I think the hardest part of transitioning, at least for me, was just developing relationships with people that really have your 6 o'clock. So people that really have your back, right? And building that camaraderie, like having that level of camaraderie is really hard to find when you leave the military. And, that takes time, and it takes intentionality. Like when you're leaving the service, to find just your new, what we call battle. And that's important in business, I think, is having a community of. So.
Well, the other issue is you can't court-martial anyone who doesn't do their work.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, there's no leave. Yeah, so like people aren't getting ready to leave work at like 4 o'clock. It's like, okay, is the job done? Not what time are we punching in? That was so different to me, right? It's like, okay, well, we'll handle this tomorrow because it's 4:15 or 4:30. It's, oh wow, great. Or holiday leave and different overtime. That was the thing that was really confusing. Wait a second, we get paid extra for being, this is amazing.
So let's talk about that, because this move from military into entrepreneurship, which has its own challenges and is a battleground in itself, that, and this is going, I'm sure you've heard lots of people talking about this, but Elon Musk is now going to come in with Vivek Ramaswamy and try and, sounds like, make the government a bit more focused on along military lines in terms of people have got to get things done. There is going to be a mission, and like you said, there's no weekends. There's no you get the job done. How do you think that's going to pan out? Is that something that's necessary? Do you see something in your small business work that you've done that might be useful?
I love. First off, I love the acronym, right? Department of Government Efficiency. I love the word efficient. I love the concept of trimming the fat and enhancing operations. You take one department like ours, right? You look at the Small Business Development Center. What's interesting is a Small Business Development Center, they're funded by the SBA at a national level, but the SBA also funds another organization called SCORE, which from what I understand is almost the exact same sort of organization as us, but we work together very, very much. From what I understand, at least here in Indiana, we don't collaborate with SCORE. We see them around, but there's not a whole lot of synergy. Additionally, there's another funded organization, like these subgroups, right? A women own a sort of council, and other different subgroups that are all obtaining money centered around the same mission, which is economic development through the support of small business. So it's like, is there opportunity for efficiencies there? I think so. I think that we could clear out a lot of these different subgroups, which who knows how they spawned over the many, many years. But it's like, what if there was just one? What if we were all SBA? We all had one central CRM that tracks how we're doing our performance and efficiencies at a national level. It's like, this stuff makes sense to me. Like, that's how I would do it if it was an owned company. So I get excited thinking about, that's just one organization, right? There's a lot of three-letter federal agencies, and it's like, if there's an efficiency department that's their job, is to go through sort of a, just like diagnosing a car. And it's like, I get excited about the potential that has to save a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of redundancies. And sort of similar situations are happening across the entirety of the U.S. government.
Everywhere. It must be everywhere. And you're just giving one small example, and you 5 different separate entities there with 5 different CEOs or presidents taking home salaries. And, you just have that imagine that in all 50 states, reduce those to 1 per state. I mean, those are enormous, enormous savings. I think the American, by looking at the American economy and the American efficiency, it can only go one way with this. And I think everyone looking to it said, have this similar sort of excitement. And afterwards, I'm going to say, because I'm kind of thinking what your next steps are, but we'll get to that right at the end. But let's talk a little bit about your day-to-day work. You've got a couple of businesses, and you're doing your support on the small business side. What is taking the most of your bandwidth right now? What is exciting you when you wake up in the morning work-wise?
Yeah. So on the personal side of things, I am working on a project. I've been working on it for the last 3 years in the government contracting world. And it's a platform that helps veterans or veteran support organizations or individuals connect to the right resource at the right time at a county or zip code level. It is live now. It's an anonymous sort of, think of it kind of like an anonymous Google search, but for your community or county. So basically it allows somebody to search for any resource, right? And again, it was specifically initially built for veterans. So veterans can look up finance, legal, mental health, various things of that nature, which typically are career killers or career sort of spotlight items. And they can find who to talk to. They can find the resource, again, at the right time, and make contact with that individual without having to pay information if they don't choose to. But the coolest part is the back end. So the back end administrative panel highlights and showcases to administrators what's being searched, what's being found, what's being searched, what's not being found, and it's giving actionable analytics on, you know, assistance for maybe legislative changes, maybe adding resources to gaps that exist, but ultimately helping with sort of predictive analytic ball going to be, or where's the puck going to be in this situation. So it's been a passion project. Um, um, the state of Indiana, working with the National Guard, the Indiana Department of Veteran Affairs, and then also Purdue University. There's some faculty there that we've been working with. Just thankful for all the people. I mean, it really does rally a lot of people around, like specifically when we're talking about veteran support. A lot of veterans are in bad places. You can see the suicide rate that's continued to jump year. I genuinely believe that this will change veterans get connected, and it will change the way that veterans come home. And I think it'll change the way that support organizations serve our veterans more efficiently. You take away the title veteran, even human beings need to be connected, and many of us are more isolated than we've ever been. That's at a global scale due to these things. And yeah, I think connection is the solution. And we're going to try our best to, it's funny, use these things, technology to hedge for connection.
I do a lot of work on country brand and, or area of origin where products come from. This product coming out of Indiana, which is not exactly Silicon Valley, what challenges you in that sense? Because, and I think hopefully going into 2025, these things will be but what sort of pushback have you had that this is not coming areas or the Washington or California like that? And how are you going to be able to expand this into different states, especially when it comes to privacy laws throughout the states?
Sure. Yeah. So Indiana is crushing it in business. And I think one of the things that we've done historically is just be very humble and quiet about some of the innovations, different technologies, and even manufacturing, like hardware products that have come from the state. And that's no longer really a thing anymore. We're being very loud about who we are and what we do. You can see that in Forbes. I think Forbes just named us the number 2 place in the world to do business. Our airport has been the number 1 airport in the entire country the last 12 years. There are amazing builders and innovators across the state. And I think part of it's because it gets really cold here and people can focus. It's not as hustle and bustle. I have theories, but it's like we got a lot of people, but there's several months where it gets so cold that you're just inside, and then you can think, or maybe they'd have time to get bored and come up with innovative ideas and congregate in the warmth together, and that's how we're doing it. But I'm really proud about the lack of challenges that I've run into being a builder, an entrepreneur, an innovator here, and some of the awesome opportunities, right, that Indiana presents to us, company owners. So the ecosystem, right, is really strong. I haven't ran into opposition, and while there are amazing sort of tech hub zones and investors, and you think of Silicon Valley or different software hub, I've never really even used VC money. I've always built a minimum sellable product for anywhere from like 25 to haven't needed, a lot of people talk about MVP, like a minimum viable product. I like to call it an MSP, the minimum sellable product. That way, I get something that's valuable to the customer, and then I can put a sales system in place and start earning revenue that paves the way for future features and allows it to put its own fuel in, almost have a sustainable sort of runway. That's always been my philosophy. And I've never needed obtain myself without adding more people and adding more complexities to the mix. I always try to avoid risk and complexities. And anytime you add more people to something and prerequisites and requirements, that'll typically stress out an entrepreneur, at least it would me. And that takes away from the mindset of how do I make this product the logical choice for my people? That's really where you want your entrepreneur yourself to be thinking is, why is my product amazing? And the chief aim should be to get referrals automatically, because it's, ChatGPT didn't have to do any marketing, right? It was the fastest technology platform on earth. And that's because it was so amazing and so innovative. People had to tell other people about it. Like, hey, look at this. Hey, you got to see this. Check this out. Look what I found. And that's really the aim, I think. Like, if you've built something truly amazing, other people will talk about it. And if you simplify that sort of referral process, if you're imagining and thinking about your user when they're the most happy, and you simplify that referral or sharing process for them, like thinking about them in advance, that's an amazing way to create distribution and sort of vertical marketing.
Well, I was just looking at your profile on Podmatch, which is where we connected,
Yeah.
and you talk about referrals and things like that. And I was going to say, a company has made it when in the links there's X, YouTube, etc., and then your icon. So that's the only thing that I was going to say is missing profile. Is there should be a link to your true fans. That's what folks obviously should aim at, and that's free marketing. And again, that virality that doesn't cost you anything, because it's such a great product and service that everyone is going to share it. Talking about that's a great win. How, as an entrepreneur, are you splitting your attention? Because is this full focus? Obviously, you're doing your mentorship work as well, but you've got a couple of other businesses. How do you, as an entrepreneur, focus your attention where it is going to get the most value for you? And how do you decide which ones just to say, this is not where my attention should be going? It's a great idea, but I've got to kill it.
Yeah. So really I guess the calculation would be time to income and impact ratio. So it's like, how much time do I need to give this? How much income can it potentially earn? And then what's the impact that it's creating? And is that then worth my time? So there's no shortage of opportunities. There's no shortage of different, industries even that I could apply my gifts and skills in. I think where I'm at, like in my chapter of life, is what industry is the most exciting to me, and where do I want to really sort of anchor in? And I'm on this current venture now where I think government contracting is going to be a really big win, because there are so many problems that need solutions, and there's a lack of or capable talent, especially in the tech industry, because there's barriers. One, it's really hard to get certified to do business with the government and go through all the rigmarole and all the bureaucracies. It's a pain in the ass, it just is. And then this is, the hustle part, where you have to develop relationships and improve your capability, get the opportunity up to bat. And we've done those things. It's taken years. It's been an uphill battle, but I'm seeing and imagining the fruit of this. And I'm imagining and seeing what's going to happen as being a qualified, sort of called on, and I'm excited about where I'm imagining that's going to go, as far as projects that we get to work on, people we get to meet, we're able to up, and what that will do, hopefully at a national level. There's a lot of really awesome sort of focuses, whether you're talking about the Department of Defense, you're talking about various 3-letter agencies or government agencies that are truthfully stuck in the Stone Ages. And it's like to provide them solutions, custom solutions that will create significant impacts is a fun thought for me. And it's highly profitable, the income that can be generated from it, but also the outcomes. And that's where I'm supposed to be. So taken years of building various tools for myself and other companies, and just right, like what industries I like most, what sort of people I like to work with the most, people I don't like to work with the most, or companies or organizations. Yeah, as far as, when you think about who's the best customer in the world, the US government owns the money printers. It's like, realistically, if you're thinking about just cash, it's like, well, you want to build things for the person that can print dollars. And not that you don't want to do a good job. I mean, I deeply do a great job and earn the thumbs up and the 5 stars and the refer. So yeah, that's where a lot of my, like, I split my focus like everyone else, right? It's like I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I am a, CEO of multiple different software tools. But knowing that I had to split my focus, I chose that I ultimately can just step away from, that'll run themselves. I put key people in the right place. I learn with the intent to teach, and then I empower virtual assistants or other, partners that are involved with that company. And I try to create systems that sell. And then truly just at least in my experience, there's been really sort of big waves where I'm spending a lot of time building a company, getting it up and running, making sure that it's nice and neat. But then it gets easier and easier, and you can walk away. It's operating. There aren't as many fires to put out, or you've created the customer support channels, and you've more so dialed it in. And after you've done it a few times, you kind of know what to expect on other platforms, and you can create these, homes that have all the utilities support that they need, and it's not like it's taking hours and hours and hours of my time. Um, so right now, I mean, really my split focus is what I just mentioned: being a dad, being a husband, being a, sort of a community, and I run a nonprofit too that right now in these months takes up a lot of bandwidth. Um, but the main focus is, determined based on how much time I put into something, how much I can get out of it, and how active or sort of service oriented, impactful will that be?
It does seem like all of these elements are going to be leading you to some sort of life of service to both community and the state, and then the US, and hopefully the world at large. How long do you think you're going to give yourself until you go into public service?
I mean, I'm kind of there now, right? I mean, I'm there now and I like my role. I don't know how to play the game of chess like some people do. I'm very mission oriented. It's like, what sucks? How do we fix it? What's going on? Where is there inefficiencies? And what's the objective to make this better, right? Or at least our best sort of goal to make this better. And I like to work on stuff. I'm not good, some of the stuffy, quote unquote, parts, sort of the spotlight as a leader, reading teleprompts, speaking, and that's not that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I ever get into that. I like to do what I can with what I have right now, and be present at the county level or in my community level at my church. And then, when I start to think about, community organization, it's a little hard to comprehend what it would look like, or how I could be um,
Well, you might not always have a choice though,
yeah.
because a lot of these leadership roles are put upon you versus you saying, "Oh, I'd like to be X, Y, Z." So
Mm.
that's something that foresee potentially in the future, which might be quite exciting. So background and empathy for folks is quite exciting. Now, for folks who want to learn a little bit more about you, the work you're doing, and say they're a business in Indiana that would like to, your insight in terms of how to build and grow their business, how can folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, so timbranyan.com is my personal website. All my social media handles are on there. It's Tim Branyan across most of my social medias, like at Tim Branyan, or if you Google Tim Branyan, it'll pop up, whether it's podcast episodes or my YouTube channel. I'm most active on LinkedIn. So Tim Branyan on LinkedIn. My picture's me with a microphone. It's a white background, at least at the time of this recording. Yeah, and that's where I try to create content that's helpful, right? Most of the time, my content's centered around Indiana right now, as far as grants, but sometimes that content is relevant at a national level, where one example is the BOI, right? Through FinCEN, people need to do the beneficial ownership information before the end of the year. A lot of people don't know about that, so I try to make content that's relevant. The Visa MasterCard settlement that's going on, there's a $5.54 billion settlement that's happening. Basically, in short, business owners had money taken from them that they probably don't even know about through card fees, and they can apply before February 4th, to receive that money back, whatever their interchange was. So it's from 2004 to 19. So 15 years of processing if the employer was in business. I'll send you a link, Nick. You can check it out. There's two ways to do it. A company can do it on their own, or you can work with a third party company. They take of the fee, but you can reduce the headache. That's the way I went. Just have time. I got to stay focused in my sectors. Yeah, I paid for someone to take the simple route for my EINs that were in question. But yeah, stuff like that. I try to roll stuff like that out because it's relevant for a large amount of different employers and companies. So yeah, I'll write stuff like that or share videos.
Ooh, well, I'll put all of those links in the description so folks can check that out. And Tim, it's been great chatting to you. And I look forward to seeing how the next couple of years goes, and we'll maybe have a chat again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to now be connected with you.
I really do appreciate your comments. So why not go and watch this live on YouTube, or go to my website, kuhne.no. That's KUHNE.no for more information.